everyone, and welcome to the new video. As you can see by the title, today we're gonna talk about money. We're gonna talk about how much should you expect to pay to go on a trip to Lapland. Okay, so let's start with that this is the first time I'm doing anything like this. We are not the family that accounts for every single penny. I am terrible with planning. I'm terrible with budgeting. We kind of go as we can, as in like we're both self-employed. We know roughly what we can spend on holidays and we just book in increments. Like, you know, we'll book flights, then we're like, okay, let's spend about this on hotels. I always try to find the best deal I can. The prices I have here are pretty accurate. This is the first time I went on the flights, on the booking, and on the travel card and actually wrote down what was for what. We're not gonna get down to like nitty gritty of like, you know, €3 for a post stamp or this and that. I've seen people do that, but in a grand scheme scenario, I don't think it matters if we spent the €3 on a can of Coke or was it a bottle of water. I mean, I hope you're not looking for that kind of information. But yeah, so the trip to Lapland was very last minute. It was actually something that we spoke about that it would be cool to do one day. But every time I would Google Lapland, Santa, all that jazz, it would take me straight to the Lapland website itself, like the Lapland Santa village. And it would be 1,000 to 2,000 per person. And it just seemed so scary, so scary. But we always spoke about going one day, yet it was never in our plans. But anyway, we're here to talk about the cost, not about why we went. But it was actually a very last minute decision that my mom made that we're all gonna go. So there was 5 of us, myself, Darren, 2 of our children, and then my mom. So it was very last minute. It was booked about a month before we actually went, which is late. And it's not just in terms of like, if your life's hectic and you're like, oh my God, I'm going away in a month. It's hectic in terms of booking because obviously by then, most of the accommodation will be booked. And that's the biggest expense. I find that this is more expensive than the flights can be. So that was very challenging. It got to a point that we thought, okay, we're not gonna go because we're not paying 10 grand for a week to squeeze in a tiny little kind of rundown flat, because that was the prices also. But I would like to highlight that we never thought about staying in a Santa village because, well, by the time I looked, they only had little houses available that would only fit 4 people, and we had 5. So we would have had to rent 2 houses for 5 people. It just wouldn't make any sense. So I've not looked at that. The property we rented was Airbnb, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, but there is a whole video showing you this. So we'll get there. But let's start with something that I do kind of first, which is look at the flights and also marry it up with the accommodation, because there's nothing worse than buying those cheap, amazing flights and then realizing there's actually nowhere to stay. So the flights, I did look at so many different options. We live by Aberdeen in Scotland, so we do prefer to fly from Aberdeen. Most of people will travel to Edinburgh or Glasgow because you just have so much more flights, cheaper flights, more of them just in general, you know, it's kind of more budget friendly. But then you also have to drive there, so you have to take fuel into consideration and your parking. And for us, I mean, personally, I hate being in a car. My kids tend to be travel sick. I'm travel sick. So we do it if we really have to, but I do try to avoid it. So this time when I priced up flights from Aberdeen to Rovaniemi versus Edinburgh to Rovaniemi or Glasgow, I actually don't live in Edinburgh. We flew from Edinburgh. It was actually a massive difference. We were looking at about £4,000 difference in price, which is crazy. That's a lot of money. That's a whole trip basically. So, you know, because if it is the difference of £100 to £200 by the time you fuel up, parking, the timing, everybody being, you know, sick and miserable, it's so much worth to just pay a little bit more and fly from Aberdeen because it's so close to our house. However, this time it was a really big difference, so we decided to fly from Edinburgh. We flew with EasyJet, and I know a big thing people ask online is, do the flights do anything special? Is there something like Santa on board? Elves are waiting? Is there like a magical Christmassy thing going on? No. I heard that if you book through TUI or maybe straight through, you know, Santa's village, maybe there is special flights that make it more magical, but the flight is around 3 hours long, so it's pretty average for most touristy destinations, I feel like. And there's nothing magical about it, which I wouldn't expect it to be, but I just seen a lot of people on Facebook talking about it, so I thought I'll mention that. So we flew with EasyJet, and the cost, I've been watching the cost of tickets and clearing my cookies and cache and all that stuff, you know, on the browser to make sure I get the best deal. And it did go up and down. The cheapest I've seen for 5 of us return was £800, which I thought was a steal. But by the time we actually booked it, it was exactly £1,000. It was exactly £1,000, like 9p or something, which is such a perfect number, I feel like, you know, in terms of, you know, 1000. But I thought it was quite a good deal because we've paid so much more to fly just to France or Italy for 4 of us. And here it was 5 of us going to Rovaniemi, which is right next to Santa's village. Like the airport and Santa's village, if you really wanted to, you could walk that within like half an hour. Like it's crazy how close it is. So the flights, I was really happy with. Obviously, we had to drive 3-4 hours, depends on traffic, to get to the airport and then book the parking. The parking was around £60 and that was for a week. One of the parkings that, you know, you can jump on a little shuttle and it takes you straight to the airport. So pretty straightforward. We've never had issues with anything happening to the car, even if it's the one that you leave the key and they repark the car for you. Never had any issue, never anything missing or, you know, none of that. By the way, in case I forget, we have all the vlogs up on the channel right now from, I was going to say Legoland, not Legoland. My mind's somewhere else right now, from Lapland, and you can see everything and the pricing and all that. So there's a link down below. It's on our channel. So I hope you would enjoy that if you click on it. But yeah, so we've got the flights, we've got the parking, the fuel, that depends. That completely depends on the car you're driving. So I'm not going to add that here because that can be so different. Our car's actually quite pricey in fuel if you're going a further distance. But as I say, it was really worth it because the difference in price, Aberdeen, Edinburgh, massive. I will quickly add that we did think about going the night before because the flight was around 12, so I meant like leaving at 8 or so, which is not bad at all. But just for ease for everybody and not being tired, we were gonna go and stay a night in Edinburgh the night before. But you know, this is all this like little creepy crawly costs that you're like, oh, I'll get a hotel here, I'll get a hotel here, and you're actually spending, you know, 100, 200 more that you could allocate to something else. And let me tell you, Lapland is expensive. Food is expensive. A lot of expense. I mean, any holiday is expensive, I guess, but it is pricey. It is pricey. So I see that I've got Ubers here, and this is the number that I absolutely hate because I feel like it's money paid for nothing, even though it wasn't. But I would like to move to Airbnb first because, as I said, it was quite hard to find accommodation. We are also quite picky because in my head, like once I get something in my head, I need to have it done that way or it really upsets me. I don't know if it's some kind of disorder or what, but it really upsets me if the things are not the way I imagined it. Like I want it that way. And it's not like that with everyday tasks, but holidays. Like if I get in my head that I would like to, you know, be in a nice house in the woods, I really would like that. I'm not going to have a meltdown if it doesn't go this way, but I know I'm capable of finding it. So we were looking at Airbnbs, we were looking at hotels, we were looking at apartments, you know, just anything. And everything was quite expensive because it was so close to the date of departure and it just didn't seem to be worth the money. We were also quite picky. We tend to be quite picky because there's 4 of us and then my mom, so this time 5 of us. And I quite like when the kids have the separate bedrooms. So, you know, we can kind of chill in a living room, watch a movie, they can kind of do their own thing if they want, people can sleep in. So, you know, it's not the end of the world if somebody has to sleep on a sofa in a living room, but it's not that comfortable. And also, you know, it's nice for everybody to have their own space. So that was really important to get separate spaces for everyone. The garden was something I really wanted us to have because we were going for a week and I knew not every day we're going to be doing crazy things because at the end of the day, all the kids want to do is play in the snow. They only care about the snow. Like you can spend so much money doing other things. They just want to play in the snow. So if you're in a hotel room, it might be more tricky or not as convenient to go outside. While if you've got a house, you can literally see them through the window. You can just go out in the garden. You can have your cup of coffee with you. It just seems more at ease. And that holiday was all about kind of relaxing in this winter wonderland. So I've been looking for a week, kind of losing hopes. And then all of a sudden on Airbnb, a property popped up that I've not seen. that I felt in the beginning that it was a bit dodgy because there was only like 3 reviews and it said it was new. And I was kind of like, like, you know, it is risky, but somebody's got to be the first one to stay or the fourth one to stay. And the house on pictures looked amazing. I did approach the lady to ask for a slightly better price. And I've noticed now that it depends on a month, price does change. And she is pretty booked up now because when we looked, she was basically free because obviously she just recently joined, but the price changes and it's actually cheaper right now. But keep in mind, we went over New Year. We left the 27th and came back on the 3rd. So the property, I've mapped it before I booked it. I spoke to her and everything. And it actually ended up costing exactly £2,255 for 7 days. She did minus the cleaning fee. She did a bit of a discount. I'm so grateful. That lady actually ended up being so nice throughout the whole trip. I mapped it. It said that it was about 25-minute walk to town. It wasn't. We had to get Ubers. But not a big deal because when we arrived there, the house was beautiful. Oh, it was amazing. It was everything we could have asked for. And we were surrounded by locals and a really nice, I feel like upper class place, but I'm not sure, maybe a lot of people live like that. It was fully detached house with heated floorings throughout the place. We had a massive open plan. Again, the video's up on the channel of the living room, kitchen, the fireplace, the dining room. It was just amazing. All of us had our separate bedrooms. In fact, there was 5 of us and the listing said that 6 people would fit, but in my eyes, you could fit probably like 8 to 10 people if you really wanted to. There was a massive walk-in shower, kind of like a washroom when you've got 2 showers just in a big open room that connects to like a brand new looking sauna, which was really nice. We've used that as well. There was a couple of bathrooms, so nobody was queuing up to brush teeth and stuff. Even our kids had their separate bathrooms. No, not bathrooms. I mean, technically, yeah, bathrooms and their own rooms. So they didn't have to share, which they liked because they tend to sometimes argue. So, you know, there was a balcony and a beautiful garden, massive garden with actual like little play park that led you to a massive frozen lake. Like, what? It was amazing. So if you want to see that, go to the video about our house in Lapland. There's also links there for that Airbnb. The lady was absolutely amazing. She was so helpful and it's such a good place. Amazing if you want to go there with family. But as I said, it wasn't really walkable. And we never booked a car before because at last minute when I looked at renting a car for 5 of us, preferably something slightly bigger, we were looking at about £1,000 for a week, which we thought was pretty steep. And when I tried to roughly see how much Ubers would cost throughout the whole trip, it was still cheaper. So, I mean, if we were to book now for next year, for next January, the car would be so much cheaper. But because we were so late, it was quite expensive. It was hard to get. So we ended up getting Ubers. So that for the whole week, I don't actually think the price is so bad because it's 7 days of going places. We did use buses as well, keep in mind. So it wasn't just Ubers all the time. But for the whole week, we paid €375 for all the Ubers, kind of back and forth, which is a lot if you think that this is just taxis, you know, like that could have been avoided, but then we wouldn't have been in such a beautiful, quiet neighborhood. You know, it was nice. And in the car, once the Uber came, it was about 10 minutes to get to the city. So perfect. It was amazing. So let's go with the cost because that's what I'm supposed to be talking about here. Food. We decided to do, well, obviously a proper shop for the house for breakfast, maybe suppers, maybe the days we're going to stay at home. So for the whole week of shopping, which was like the Lidl's here, the little shop here, a Kmart here, there, and all that, was £346 for 5 people, which is not bad. But on top of that, we've spent $541 in restaurants. I found restaurants tricky, not much choice. We don't eat meat, we eat fish. So it was quite hard. It was kind of basic. On the last day, we've ordered an Indian and it was really depressing. That's also in the video. It was really bad. Like for the money, you could feel it was all like just frozen stuff chucked in the pot. So that was a bit disheartening, but you know, it was food, it fed us, but you know, just not what we expected. In the beginning of this video, I said Lapland's very expensive, food's expensive, but I feel like every holiday is expensive if it comes to food, especially if you're more picky. Like, we eat everything, but we like to have a full meal, you know, like if we have pasta, we want to have fish with it, we want the salad and the garlic bread, you know, it's not just pasta and garlic bread. If we have a burger, we like to have all the salads and tomatoes and everything in it with some chips on the side. Like, we like the full meal, like I like to call it. I like something green, I like the carbs, and then some kind of fish, you know? So it does end up being expensive, but you know, it wasn't too bad. Keep in mind, 7 days, 5 people. Another cost I've got here says other, which is things I didn't really account for. I think it must have been like little shopping here and there, which we're not massive on souvenirs. We always get magnets, and if we go to theatre shows, we get booklets, but that cost was £152. We went to the Snowman World, which was in Santa Village. Santa Village to enter is free, but to go to Snowman World, there is a fee. So a fee for 5 of us was £182, and you can come in and out all day. Then we've got skiing, which I feel like Darren got, well, didn't get ripped off. He asked for it because me and Noah just went sledging, which I think it was only like 15-20 euro for him to get on that like little donut thing to go up and down. But skiing was more expensive. That was for Arielle and Darren, and you had to buy the card to go onto the slope, and then, you know, your whole gear, because they didn't have the helmets, the skis, the sticks and all that. But after like an hour on a small slope, they thought they were ready for a big slope. And even though they were about to be finished very soon because they were closing down, they went and bought another ticket for a big hill. Kind of waste of money, because that one day just for them, well, and Noah costed £229. So, you know, could have been avoided. We'll know for a future. There's probably better deals if you do it over a couple of days, and they've only done it for 1 day. It was a bit of like a novelty thing to do, because we never get to do things like that. Looking at my notes, I've got one more expense, and that was something quite expensive, but again, 5 of us. I keep saying this because we took turns in paying things. My mom paid for certain things, we paid for other little bits. So it's different if like 5 adults are coming and everybody's paying, you know, for each person. So this video is more intended if you're kind of planning for a whole family. So the big activity we wanted to do was obviously reindeers and huskies. Those activities can get very expensive considering they only last a minute or two, if that, if you're lucky. I mean, huskies were about 30 seconds. So we've looked at so many different things. We passed on the Santa Village because reindeers in Santa Village just go around the circle, and we kind of wanted the beautiful scenery through the forest and stuff. So we ended up booking through the Arctic Circle Snowmobile Park, which was actually a business of a brother of a lady that we've rented Airbnb from. So it's like, what are the chances? But we booked a package, which included a pickup from home. As long as you're in a vicinity of so many miles, they would pick you up, which is great because we saved on an Uber because that was included. So a minibus picked us up in the morning, and then they took us to a place that you could put on some extra layers, but we were really wrapped up. We were really ready. We didn't rent our jackets and stuff, so that was obviously less of an expense. People tend to think that it's cheaper to rent your suit. I don't know anything about it because I still have the same skiing trousers and all that for snow that I had like 7 years ago. So it really didn't bother me much. You can get that, but then we didn't do that. So we went straight to the farm. You get to see the huskies. You get to ride for 30 seconds, get a picture taken. I mean, the day we went was -25, and I didn't even have enough time to put my phone back in a pocket because the lady just went. I couldn't feel my fingers. I've never experienced that kind of pain before. So, you know, 30 seconds on that day was enough. We couldn't have done longer than that. There is different packages. There is different companies. Again, we were very last minute with booking it because we only booked it 2 days before. So a lot of like big family farms were already booked up. But we did the huskies. Then we walked over to the reindeers. Then we went to a little hut that they spoke about reindeers and what they do and kind of the traditions. In Finland, we got some warm gloggies, some biscuits, kind of chilled there. And then we got taken to Santa's village, which at that point we've already visited twice, but there was some free time. So we used it up to walk around and do things we've not done before. And then they took us back home. So it was a whole day. And that whole day that kind of ticked off reindeers and huskies costed £530 for 2 children and 3 adults. As I said, for 5 people was £5,129. That includes all the food, the flights, the parking, and no fuel, because that really depends. So it's silly adding that in. You know, buying souvenirs, buying certain little things. I just remembered that when I said other, and that was that £150, you know, 40 euros of that was just a picture with Santa. Like, you have to get that picture and you're not allowed to take your own, and, you know, you're not allowed to film in there. And it's kind of like once in a lifetime thing, because I feel like if we come back, like, will the kids want to see Santa again? I don't know. I'm not sure. So that is definitely a big cost for that. All that kind of stuff cost. You can see Santa for free, but if you want that picture, it's 40 euro. But let me tell you, meeting Santa is so worth it. He's amazing. He knows your accent. He knows where you're from. I have no idea how they do it, but it's amazing. Like, my kids were bouncing, I was bouncing. I was like, oh my God, Santa, like, he's proper Santa. He's this big guy with this massive hands. Like, his beard is so luscious. It's just amazing. So yeah, so hopefully this video gave you a bit of indication on pricing. I mean, over £5,000 for 5 people for a week sounds to me like a fair price. Like, it's okay, because I mean, if you're one of those people that go on all-inclusives a lot, you are cheaper. But we never do, because we prefer to eat kind of like where the locals eat. We don't really like, I mean, hotels food's fine, and if you've got the deal, that's good, but we're not the kind of people that would like leave the hotel and come back for supper, because if we're already out, we're gonna do other things and kind of eat in a local restaurants and stuff like that. So you can obviously do it so much cheaper. I highly recommend Facebook groups. People are amazing with like writing down every penny and telling about the new flights and when to book them and how to book them. Ryanair from Dublin flies for like £20 to Finland, which is absolutely crazy, but we don't live in Dublin, and we also do not fly with Ryanair. So, you know, there's so many ways of doing it. I feel like this was fair. It is what it is. There was 5 of us, and we like good food, and, you know, we try our best just to work a lot to be able to have those experiences with, you know, our children and stuff. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. And if you could subscribe if you're, you know, curious of our next adventures that we've got planned, that would be amazing. There's nothing more motivational than seeing a comment, a subscription, like people actually tuning in. If you've managed to stay up until this point, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.